The Union and the Snake, the time we released it, MTV was at its peak. The viewership was enormous. And there was a big demand for a new video. We tried to come up with something that would take our videos to a different place. We felt we'd done the big scenery, island shoots on the Rio album. And we were in Australia, so we wanted to use some of the things they had there. The desert we used in there, and although I think the video still stands up, it has something about it. It's sort of crazy and abstract. I don't think it's one of our best.
One of my first memories of Seven and the Ragged Tiger was going into EMI in Manchester Square, and the main kind of A&R guy came in and said, "There's no singles on this album." So I like the album, but just no singles, you know. And I think for them it was a struggle until the Reflex.
And we'd approached Nile Rodgers to. We knew the Reflex was the opening song on Seven and the Ragged Tiger, but it was quite long. And I think all of us felt we hadn't quite gotten to the essence of the song, that we hadn't quite been able to. So we approached Nile, whose work we liked, and Jason Casara, who he's doing a lot of work with. And they took the song, and they were doing a lot of work with synclavier at the time. Nile was starting to experiment with samples, and I mean, he just like turned that song around.
I think what that illustrates as well is this kind of the fact that the songs up until the Reflex had been kind of a bit like stuff we'd done before. It was only when the Reflex got reworked that it turned into this and something that was different from anything we'd ever done before. And I think it's one of the instances where it really put it into our heads that we have to change, we have to keep moving, we can't do the same thing twice, otherwise it just won't work.
I think Seven and the Ragged Tiger was the first time we realised album making could be a difficult process.
You know how most bands have second album syndrome? You've heard of that? Well, we had third album syndrome.
Because for both the first album and the Rio album, we'd really written the songs, we played most of them, a couple of them developed in the studio, but we had the bulk of the album. For the third album, we had nothing. And so we also wanted to change our sound, we felt we needed to develop. We were working with a new producer, Alex Sadkin, who was terrific, but also was sort of as slow as we were, maybe slower, whereas Colin Thurston was always in a rush to get it done.
Alex Sadkin, the time was not an issue.
He was on island time.
Yeah, for sure.
You could sit there and listen to a song for like 2 days and make a slight adjustment here, and one little change here, and that was his. That was how he made albums.
And it was infectious, wasn't it?
It was,
that attitude's infectious.
Yeah.
It kind of rubs off on it.
Well, he'd made so many great records, Alex. He'd worked with Bob Marley and with Grace Jones and Talking Heads, and so it was really exciting to work with him, but we definitely weren't as focused on getting it done in a hurry. And we also had an endless budget at that time, and the record label just wanted us to deliver whatever we thought was the perfect album.
I think something I should know, we're kind of like responding to, everybody was saying the new Beatles, new Beatles. Yeah. And so we consciously went for a Beatles-esque kind of approach to that song.
The guitar riff.
And the harmonies and the whole...
Dressing the same, I think, in the...
There's another joke in something I should know, and it was with the big mound. And I don't know if you recognise it, but it was kind of loosely based on the mound from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I walked past with a fork, looking at the fork and the mound, because there's that mashed potato scene, and he starts to make it out of his dinner. I don't think many people notice that one.
I think Hungry Like the Wolf was the first of a kind, I think, wasn't it? Because up to that point, most videos have been filmed in, little rooms like this. And it's the first time somebody actually went on to location and did something that had more kind of cinematic quality. And I think that it lives on to this day, really, for that reason. It's a really cinematic experience rather than just another music video.
It was actually the first time that we'd ever seen a storyboard with a story and it really had a story. There was a narrative thread to it. It actually had, you know, it had something you could follow that wasn't just the band performing the songs. And it was quite challenging to us to look at that to begin with, to think, are we able to do this? We've never done anything like it before. But I think we all threw ourselves right into it, and it was very exciting to film and to do. We're in this amazing place with this kind of boys' fantasy story going on.
Russell Mulcahy did our first videos, and I remember we had this song out, Planet Earth, and it was doing quite well outside of the UK, particularly in Australia and Japan. And we didn't have time to go and visit and play there because we were on tour in Europe and America. So the record label came to us and said, we need to make a video. And it was such an amazing thing because we thought, wait a minute, you want to make a little film that goes with our song? It'll accompany it and we'll be in the film? And that appeared to be the case. So we said, okay, well this is a no-brainer. It'll be fun.
And I think what surprised us was just how it kind of travelled around the world so quickly. And what it did was it gave people a really good image of the band, much more so than the kind of image they were getting from the magazines at that time. You know, when you can see people moving and performing, it kind of it fixes them much more firmly in your consciousness. I think that's what the video did for us more than anything.
The strange thing about the first single, Falling Down, that it was almost like an afterthought. We'd finished the album, we got this amazing, what we thought was a complete album. And Justin listened to the stuff we got. So you say you're missing something from the album. You're missing like an Ordinary World or a Save a Prayer type thing. And he had this idea for a song. We drove up to Manchester where he was playing, and he had just had a day off. And we worked through the night and came up with this amazing song, which we all loved, and we took it to the record company and they loved it, and became the first single.
Well, the video is loosely based on models in rehab. I think we just all felt that we didn't want something literal with the song, but we did want something that took it off in a great visual direction. The song being about someone who loses their grip on life, and this was one example of it. But I think we've seen so much in the media about rehab, and everywhere you turn there's a celebrity failing in some way or having a problem. And this isn't really a knock at that, it's more of an observation. You never really see what goes on inside rehab, so this is just something that might possibly go on in the dream world Duran Duran rehab.
Well, we have to give credit to our managers, actually, at the time, who came up with the Girls on Film concept. They just had this idea that we should do something controversial, because I think they were just starting to play videos in nightclubs in America around that time. And they thought it would be great to do something that would really capture people, you know, if they're out clubbing in these clubs that was just starting to play these videos. And it was a great idea in the end. It really worked for us.
I think it was the nipple and the ice cube, actually. The nipple and the ice cube was just it was the best bit of the whole video.
That was the cherry on the cake.
That features in my dreams to this day.